Welcome to the Eventful Podcast, where real conversations meet big ideas.
This is where the real journey gets shared.
It's honest,
It's inspiring.
and it's always eventful.
On this episode of the Eventful Podcast, we have a very special guest, Jim Payne. I've worked with Jim for many years, and he was actually my first real boss, so this one is especially meaningful for me. I've always looked up to him as a mentor, and now at Prospect Events, we've had the opportunity to work with his new company as well. Jim is the founder and CEO of CloudX, an AI native advertising platform. Before CloudX, he founded MoPub, the mobile ad exchange acquired by Twitter in 2013, and Max, an in-app bidding platform later acquired by AppLovin. Earlier in his career, Jim was a product manager at Google, and he holds a degree in computer science from MIT. Well, I'm super thrilled to invite Jim Payne to the podcast. I've been wanting to interview him for a very long time. Jim and I go back over a decade, and I'm super thrilled to have him here, and we'd love to have a little bit of an intro of yourself.
Sure. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I know I asked you to do a special location. And that's because we are here at our company offsite in Switzerland, actually, and we're on the mountain. You can see beautiful scenery behind us. I am a serial entrepreneur, founder, and currently running a company called CloudX, which we started last year with a lot of people from my prior companies, MoPub and Max, where you worked at MoPub with me.
I sure did. Should we give a little story of how we met?
Sure. Do you want to start and then I'll...
Jim and I met in 2013, as you mentioned. We met at MoPub, and I started as the receptionist there, and I quickly moved into being Jim's assistant. And then when we got acquired by Twitter, I started doing the events over there. So that's a little bit of a background on how we met, but you can go a little deeper on that, can't you?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to. So we were looking for somebody to receive the guests at our office, and that was a hard thing to find, actually. We went through a lot of people. Meredith came in, and she was just absolutely tremendous, and we loved her, and everybody wanted us to keep her around. And so at the time, I was getting a lot of email. And so one day I came over to Meredith and I said, would you mind helping me with some email? And then she became my admin. And then, as the company grew, we did more and more things together. And I like to think that that was the beginning of the wonderful company that you guys run.
I think it was.
I think it was too.
You gave Meredith her start in her events career, which I'm very grateful for, because then I met her and we started Prospect Events. So Jim, obviously you guys go way back. I met you through Meredith some years ago. She knows you better than I do, so I do have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, fire away. That's why I'm here.
I mean, the first one is, a lot of people listening probably don't know exactly what you do or how you got into what you're doing now, which I know you've had a very long and interesting career. So I'd love to hear how you got into, I guess, tech overall, the startup world, and how MoPub came to be.
Well, there's a lot in there.
Yeah. Lot to cover.
We could,
But you can pick and choose what you want.
Let me try to tell it in a way that's not going to bore everybody. So I went to MIT undergrad, a computer scientist by training, and found my way to Google, joined the product team at Google, but ultimately with the intention of starting a company one day. And that's because when I was in undergrad at MIT, I worked for several startups actually in the Cambridge area, and they were so much fun to work at. And one of those was sold to Amazon.com in the early days of the .com boom. And so I felt like I've never seen or experienced anything quite so motivating, inspirational, and obviously, everybody did well economically, but it really created a sort of a family environment. And so based on that experience, I thought, well, that's, I think, what I would like to go do. Turns out it's not so easy to start a company, and a lot of things have to go right. But I thought a great place to learn how to do it would be Google. And so I joined Google, made my way into the product team, and then started that company, MoPub, back in 2010, after a few years at Google, learning about the ads business, learning about how to ship products, learning how to manage teams, learning how to set OKRs. And so a lot of what I did in MoPub in terms of setting the culture was liberally borrowed, maybe stolen from the Google days of 2007 to 2009. And so, I like to say that, if you've worked at MoPub or now CloudX, that you have sort of a view on what it was like to work at Google during those times. And so MoPub started to work pretty quickly. It was basically an application of programmatic advertising and real-time bidding against the mobile advertising world, which didn't have any of that at the time. And so we thought that a platform that had components of DoubleClick plus components of an exchange would actually be something that would be well received by the mobile publisher community. And that's exactly what ended up happening. The MoPub worked very well. We had an amazing team. We're based in San Francisco. We have in the New York office. Meredith joined. All of a sudden, things started to work really well. We had a lot of fun events and conferences that we did. And then we were bought by Twitter, made our way over to Twitter. And then Meredith started her amazing company over time. And we're happy to be back in the mobile advertising ecosystem with CloudX, which we started, like I said, a year ago. We just launched actually a week ago into GA in February 2026. And we're doing our company offsite to celebrate that a little bit. And thanks to Meredith, we're having a great time so far.
So far, so good.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, how could we be unhappy, right?
So I'm happy to dig into any of that stuff if you'd like. And maybe your listeners want to hear about entrepreneurship, but maybe they want to hear about how events can, and marketing in particular, can start to help build a brand, which is something that we've done a few times over the past several years.
I'd like to hear a little bit more just as an entrepreneur entrepreneurs ourselves. So MoPub was successfully acquired, and then you started another company. So
Yeah.
I want to know what you were thinking. Like, was that an idea once MoPub was already acquired, or did that come later? How did you know you wanted to start something again? Because obviously I know you're on your third now, but.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think that I still felt like there was unfinished business and things left to do. And so, the business kind of calls you back, I think, at certain opportune moments of change where, things are happening that are interesting, where, entrepreneur can make their mark. And so that's one of the things I want to do with CloudX, but it's also a thing that we wanted to do with Max, which is the company we started after MoPub, and all of them have been to some degree involved in mobile advertising with different spins on each. But I'm also spent time doing investing as well. I spent the last several years during COVID, mostly actually just investing essentially in various companies. So that's also like a startup of a sort, but it's a much slower pace. So there's nothing quite like doing a company with people that you love working with, build something that compounds, gets better every day. Building a product that actually impacts real people, their lives and their careers, helps them be more successful. That's a kind of an amazing, magical thing to be able to do. And so I feel like in my position, you almost have to do it. You're called back into it. And I certainly felt that with the CloudX opportunity, in the sense that what you can now achieve with agentic AI makes some of the ideas that we had back at MoPub now possible. Whereas we couldn't do them before. Either we couldn't ship them, or we were too slow, or we weren't capitalized properly, or it was actually impossible to do. Now we can solve all of those problems to some degree. And so that's one of the reasons why it's so exciting to be back. It's like we can kind of go back to that old checklist of things and ship against that.
So let's talk a little bit about marketing.
Yeah.
And you covered how, you brought Meredith into marketing and events and all of that. You have a love for marketing and events, I think. I mean, this is your first event at CloudX, and here we are in PA. So,
well,
you guys do them well, and we're proud that you're trusting us with your events at CloudX. But can you talk a little bit about your background with marketing and how it tied into even MoPub, Max, and how you see it now at CloudX, and sort of maybe how that integrated with your usual everyday role?
Sure. I think, ultimately, a successful technology startup, in my opinion, comes down to a 10x better product delivered in a way that people can understand why it's 10x better.
Mhm.
And that's where the marketing piece comes in. How do you tell the story and weave it into someone's life or career that matters to them and say, here's how I'm going to deliver that 10x order of magnitude improvement to you in a way that's convenient. And I think if you only have one piece of it and you're not telling a great story, it's just not really going to go anywhere.
Mhm.
Right. So I think the product has to have a certain amount of momentum behind it. The way that I know how to build momentum is through marketing.
Mhm.
Marketing ultimately is a sequence of events. Unless you have massive brand awareness and distribution already, then yeah, you can just say, hey, we're doing a device and people pay attention to you. But otherwise, in order to get people to pay attention to you, to thousands of small things that you do
Mhm.
that hit people where they are and then bring them along on a story.
Mhm.
And then connect them to a product, and then the product has to deliver the experience. So I think events are a great way, and especially in a closed community, not closed community, but a small community like the mobile publisher, mobile advertising community, a lot of people know each other. The better you can tell a story that resonates with an individual person, they can spread that message. And so we like to do events because it allows us to not only describe what we're doing and tell people and get them excited about it, and explain it from our perspective in an authentic way, but also bring everybody together so they can talk about how they might be able to use our platform.
Mhm.
And, I love these events because it's a bi-directional experience. So we're getting ideas from the people who are here, as well as saying like, here's what we're thinking. It's going to be interesting. And, there's a lot of things that get revealed during the process of doing these. So that's why we love to do them. We're very much out there in the world in this company, and we've done it in the past companies. And so I'd say stick with the knitting.
Mhm.
If you have something that works, keep doing it.
Over the years, we've planned more than 1,000 events around the world, which means we spend a lot of time inside incredible hotel properties. From remote ranches to historic estates to urban icons, we've seen firsthand what makes a venue truly work for groups. In each episode of this season, we're highlighting one property that we love or that has seriously impressed us. Our property spotlight today is the W Verbier in Switzerland. Located right in the center of Verbier and just steps from the slopes, it makes it incredibly easy for groups to move between meetings, skiing, and everything the village has to offer. We recently produced a company-wide offsite here for our client, CloudX, and we were blown away by the event space, multiple on-site restaurants, and beautiful spa. It's an ideal setting for leadership retreats and alpine gatherings.
So that's why we do it.
And I will say, in my experience, I learned marketing when I was at MoPub and working with you, and it taught me a lot for how I think about marketing and events, even with our clients, because we're on the other side now of the business and we're not working in-house. But one of the things that we launched when we were at MoPub was the customer advisory boards, because you wanted direct product feedback from the users. And that's something that we've implemented into a lot of the planning for other clients, and it has gone really far, shown a lot of positive, like it's been super positive. So I will say, even though we are on the production side now, we always have that hat on with broader marketing, since both Jess and I have worked internally, and we know how kind of that marketing engine works. We don't just sit siloed on events. So.
Customer advisory board was a great innovation that we came up with together, because ultimately our observation was that here are all these people, they're going to the south of France to Cannes, yet we don't really have one forum to bring everybody together. And that seems like a missed opportunity. So what if we were to do something just the day before, show up a little bit earlier or stay a bit later and add something that's fun, exciting, that gets people out of their comfort zone and talking to each other. And that turned out to be quite effective. And that's partially, I think, maybe a creature of ad tech. I don't know if you could do it in other industries. I mean, you might know better than me, but in this particular industry, there's sort of a calendar that everybody does. And so you can hit people, when they're arriving at these things and are in the mindset to receive new information, new ideas.
And a lot of the products that you've shipped in later on came from direct feedback from those, which I thought.
Oh, sure.
Cool.
We're constantly integrating feedback.
Yeah.
I mean, we just came from Games Forum Barcelona, where we got a tremendous amount of great ideas from our customers and prospective customers and partners. And so it's our job to synthesize all that, put that into the product roadmap. And, we try to bring as many people from the team in order to do that and make it real, do it fast. That's where the value is ultimately.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk a little bit. I want to get your opinion. I think I know what it is, but we'll see. You might surprise me. In this age of AI and remote working, we just wrote a blog post about it actually, but to me, events are even more important now. And you can even see it here with your team. I know a lot of them go way back, but I know some of them are new as well. And connecting in person as a company, but then also like what you guys are talking about, connecting with your customers, building those relationships, I feel events are only going to become more valuable as time goes on and AI gets more advanced.
I think it's a great observation. I think a way to think about it is that AI is essentially intelligence on tap.
Yeah.
That the marginal cost of getting something intelligent to be part of your workflow drops to zero, and you can scale it in parallel. That's what we're doing ultimately with CloudX, is making some of these tedious things that an admin person might have to do automated by agents, and giving the agents tools to interact with the world around them by pulling data, by pulling logs, by making line items, by making connections to partners, by creating marketplaces, and they can just do all that stuff. You don't really need a person anymore to give them the tools. But at the end of the day, whereas the alpha is going to be in the ultimate decision, to use a platform like ours, or to call a particular partner and say, we would like to work with you on a particular arrangement around advertising. Those become even more valuable because the rest of it gets commoditized. Yep. So I think you're exactly right. Like the things that require the human touch, human element, become that much more meaningful as the rest of it becomes commoditized. Yeah. I mean, there's no way that until we get Optimus robots, I guess, that you can really plan an event with AI. And you're just not going to do that. So I think what you guys do is going to be a long-term secure business for you.
Yeah, it feels
as long as you want to keep doing it. I mean, the only problem is probably you're going to get too much business, I think.
Well, we're scaling.
Good problem.
We're hiring.
That's a good problem.
We're hiring.
Exactly. Well, it's only from us. We're going to keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just grow with CloudX. It's perfect. Who needs other clients? Don't listen to that. I love you all.
I'd love to hear what some of your biggest takeaways are. When you were starting CloudX, what were the biggest things that came to mind to do differently this time around?
Well, I don't know that we're doing that much differently as much as we're doing something very focused. You learn sort of what not to do and then come up with a playbook that works. And then obviously like half the company, I think, is from a prior, something like half, maybe more. So we all have those certain shorthand ways of working together, and that works for us. Let's stick with what works, add a few new capabilities, react to the world around us, take advantage of those opportunities. So an example of taking advantage of the opportunities is that we've got people now all over the world out of the gate. And it took us a long time to actually hire outside the US at MoPub. We had never did it at Max. Now we've got, Singapore, Kyrgyzstan, Lithuania, London, obviously, and then, both coasts of the US. And that's just out of, getting started, right? So that's something I guess we're doing differently in the sense that we know that we need to have a global footprint. Let's just go get it now. So it's maybe a sense of prioritization. The other thing is I think you do learn to avoid some mistakes and you learn to correct mistakes faster and have a more confidence in knowing how to do that. And that just comes from reps in my mind. That's the biggest thing I try to help founders with when I invest in their company is to say, you can do these things and the outcome will be okay. And it's probably going to be better. And it's going to be hard, but that's your job, is to do the things as a CEO that only you can do when there's a collection of those and do them with confidence and be flexible. But the worst thing you can do is take one of those capabilities that only you can do as a CEO and not do it. Because there's nobody else in the company can. So that's essentially in my mind, a distillation of the job.
And talking about building a team, we just mentioned we're scaling, growing, hiring. That's always, maybe not always a challenge, but for us, we've had, maybe not for you, but we've had some learnings, shall we say. And what, I've heard about the MoPub days and the incredible MoPub team that you built originally.
Yeah.
And at this event. I see a lot of the original people that I've heard about for a long time. And I'm wondering what went into building that original team that's so talented that has now come along with you. Even Meredith is here,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Well, like I said, I stole a lot of culture ideas from Google
Mhm,
because it really resonated with me. So I think authenticity is a big piece of it.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, Google wasn't for everybody, I guess, but it was definitely the right place for me. Like I loved it, absolutely loved it.
Mhm.
And so I just soaked up the culture like a sponge and said, let's do exactly what they're doing. And that you can sort of do additional things too because they're small. I mean,
Mhm.
when I was there, it grew from 5,000 to something like 15,000 people.
Wow.
And then now it's whatever, 100,000 people. So obviously there's stuff that they used to do in 2006 when I joined that they can't do now.
Right.
Um, and so I was like, well, we've got the luxury of doing some of those things. But, I think you treat people well
Mhm.
and you hire people with a strong sense of ownership
Mhm.
and high agency. And that's the type of person that other people like that want to be around.
Mhm.
And so the challenge is really just to keep those people who are like that, um, with enough interesting things to work on and then give them an environment in which they can succeed and the tools to do it. And then, try to keep it fun. I think that's an important piece.
I will say you're very good at that.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
I
I think it's a compliment. I think
No,
we're
it's
having
a
fun.
great compliment.
Having a
I
great
mean,
time.
Okay,
I
good.
think something that I've always admired in Jim as a leader, and I've worked for other people, is that he's super authentic to himself and he genuinely cares about people. I'm not saying other leaders don't do that, but you've got a humanity with like how you lead. And you can tell by the fact that people just want to go from company to company with you. And you provide a nurturing environment for people to feel like they have the autonomy and empowerment to do their work. And without micromanaging, I would definitely say you're not a micromanager. So,
Well, thank you so much for that. Well, the great Andy Grove has a perspective on that, which is like sometimes micromanagement is actually appropriate. And that's when someone's going into a new role. So if you're doing a new role, you actually have to help them. And, it's one of those things that I try to do because I've been on the opposite side of this where sometimes like you get into a situation where the expectations aren't clear. What is actually this role supposed to be? And so I try not to do that for the most part. When we hire somebody, write a welcome letter. It's like one of those things that I have insist on the team doing. And I still have to write yours.
She's like, wait a minute.
It's like, wait, this is probably being.
I didn't get what
Yeah. Is basically like, here's what the job is. And if you don't know how to do any of these things, that's fine. I can coach those.
Yeah.
Things. The areas where people have, direct domain knowledge, have done it before. I try to respect that and let them do what they want to do with it.
But I don't think micromanaging is what you're saying.
So the great Andy Grove said, it's actually, most people have like a management style. My management style is micromanagement, or my management style is like hands off, I do nothing. Yeah.
I know those people too.
Unfortunately, yeah, they do crop up from time to time. But his point was basically, it's actually depend on the situation.
Yeah.
Which, is, I guess, an obvious point. But most people who come into management for the first time do not do it that way.
Mhm.
And so it's one of those points you have to make over and over again to say, in which situation are we here?
Yeah.
And then your style has to change. And so you have to be good at both styles.
Yes.
They're all styles, in my opinion.
What are decisions that you're making now
Uh,
with this new company, CloudX, that the version of Jim in 2010 probably could not even imagine that you would be making?
oh my God. I do every single one. I mean, and that's the thing about the job is like, it's just absolutely overwhelming,
Mhm.
relentlessly overwhelming. I'm sure you guys have faced this, and you got each other, which is cool.
Yeah.
And as the CEO of a growth company, a tremendous amount ends up essentially on you. That collection of things that only the CEO can do. And, there's just no way to be equipped to handle that because there's no opportunity in a career to really be exposed to that job without having done it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the only way to learn is to actually go through the test and hopefully not destroy your company while you're learning all these lessons and then come out the other side. And it's just an exhausting, relentlessly difficult process. It's exhausting physically, it's so exhausting emotionally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, God forbid the business doesn't work or there's some externality that happens that impacts you in a way that you couldn't have foreseen. And then you have to react to that without the skill package to do it. I think, good investors can be helpful there. Typically, like, they haven't really gone through it either.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no help coming.
Yeah.
And that's maybe the hardest part, honestly, is you're the person who's responsible to do it and nobody can help and no one's interested in helping and no one will help you. And the only way to figure it out is to get through it to the other side. So thankfully, MoPub worked and then gave me the opportunity to do many different iterations of other things that I wanted to try. And not everything's worked, obviously. Somehow mobile advertising I keep coming back to, and it seems to work. So I keep coming back because it's more fun when it's working. Way more fun. It's just such a hard thing, and there's absolutely no way to be equipped to do it. That's the simple answer. And you guys have gone through that, and now you're on the other side. You've got a big successful business. You were impacted by COVID out of the gate. Mm-hmm. You had to figure out how to make all that stuff work. Mm-hmm. You had to make probably hard personnel choices, hard customer choices, land a deal that seemed like it wasn't going to land, and you have to just will that deal to land. I'm sure you've gone through all these things. So I have a deep respect for it. That's why we were your first customer at a different company. And now we're going to be your best customer.
Eric and I travel a lot. We go to a lot of events. We deal with a lot of people, but we keep looking at each other over the past day that we've been with you and here. And we're like, this is so much fun. We wish
I'm so glad to hear that.
Every event was like this. We have some great clients, but we wish every client was as trusting as you, as open to, the possibilities of what we can create. I think when we're doing something like this and when we're planning events and trying to just make people have a nice experience, that goes such a long way, is the openness from the client and the trust. So we appreciate you doing that.
Absolutely. I mean, we take it very seriously. Yeah, I take it absolutely very seriously. The people's lives are at stake, to a large degree, and their careers are in our hands. And so that is not something that I take lightly by any stretch of the imagination. But I also think the way to be successful in that context is to try in a way to not have it be so heavy, too. Even it is very serious, but it can't feel that way. So that's not going to work. It's a delicate balance, I think. And so hopefully we're getting it right.
We could probably learn a thing or two.
Yeah, maybe I should get mentorship from Jim.
Do you want to coach us, Jim?
Oh, man.
I'm learning so much.
You're ambushing me.
No pressure.
What is the one thing that people misunderstand about AI right now?
Well, you're asking me to make a broad generalization about people. There's a lot of different people out there. I think if I were to kind of this answer in the most respectful way to people as possible. So the closer you are to AI, the more you recognize the velocity at which it is improving itself. If you are just checking in on Claude every now and then, you're not going to necessarily see a huge shift. But where we see it is in the engineering organization, where the amount of stuff that you could build with Claude Code a year ago was zero because Claude Code didn't exist. It came out in the summertime and you could kind of build some things. And now it does so much for you. And that's in just 12 calendar months. If you're not in the engineering organization, you're probably not going to appreciate that exponential curve as much as if you are deeply tied into it. And that's something that we see. And that's probably, if there's a misunderstanding or mischaracterization of AI, it's probably just around how fast it's actually improving.
Do you feel as though that's going to make engineers obsolete?
No, I mean, who watches the watchers, right? But I do think the job is going to be so different. I mean, it's already so different.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it's hard to overstate, but the folks we hired at the beginning of 2025 to do software engineering have a fundamentally different task at work than they do now. Now it is controlling Claude's output.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was typing the letters of the lines of the code.
So crazy.
That shift has happened and it's only getting faster. And that's the wild part.
We spent a lot of time on this show talking about what actually makes events work, how strategy, leadership, and momentum come together in real life. That's exactly why we built Prospect 365, our partnership model for teams producing multiple events each year who want a strategic partner, not just a vendor. We stay close to your events calendar and your marketing goals, giving you consistent expertise, predictable support, and a team that truly feels like an extension of yours. If that sounds like the kind of support that your team has been looking for, you can learn more at prospectevents.com/prospect365. So if you could give us one piece of advice about scaling and growing, and we have a long path forward, what would that be?
I think that you should increase the aperture for yourself and your company relentlessly. Do more, bigger customers,
Mm-hmm.
bigger clients, conference that we were talking about, which I think would be an amazing thing to pull off because I think you guys would just have so much headroom and much, much more that you could do. And this is an amazing platform. The thing that's cool about a business is that it becomes a platform upon which you can build other things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just let the business kind of exist as itself, it becomes a bit boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you look at it as here's the foundation upon which I can build a new, other exciting business on top of that, then that's where I think it really gets to be a lot of fun. And I know that you guys can do something like that.
Yeah, I think we'll be ready. We'll be ready soon. It's been a fun journey thus far.
So because it's called the Eventful Podcast, we ask each guest to tell us an eventful moment in their life. It can be your career, your personal life.
Well, it's obviously the birth of my children, my beautiful children. But if you want to talk about a professional eventful moment, my trajectory really meaningfully changed when my good friend Michael Deering agreed to be our lead seed investor for MoPub. Before that, it was all just ambition and what I felt like I could do. And as soon as I signed that term sheet, I called my dad, actually. I said, this is my at bat and I'm going to get it right. Because you probably don't get another one. You do later in life after you've had some success. But like at that particular moment in time, things really changed. And that's where I felt like I got my chance. I remembered indelibly signing it and I knew that was like, this is a big deal. And it's when we walked out of his office and we had gotten the deal. I turned to Brian and Feast, my co-founders at the time, and I said, well, the game's on now. So that was a big moment.
And what year was that?
That was 2010.
Okay. Because I remember Michael Deering.
Amazing guy.
Such an amazing guy.
Such a brilliant investor, good friend, and
all those guys.
Certainly inspirational.
Yeah.
But Michael agreed based on a very, very thin read of what we were going to do and our ambition. And he believed in the team ultimately.
Yeah.
He believed in Nafis because he knew Nafis from Stanford, and he believed in us because Nafis believed in us too. And so, when I asked for the deal, it was like one of the hardest things to ask for. And I was trained, asked for would you be our seed investor? And that's what I said. And, it was very a very emotional moment when he said, absolutely, I'd love to. And at that point, my entrepreneurial career essentially started. So
that's a very good event.
That's my moment.
Can I ask what your seed funding was for MoPub?
It was solo. It was $750,000. And he did half of that.
And you just raised a Series A for your new company.
True.
It's not 700.
A little bit more, but you also need more now.
Yeah.
And he did before because the AI is so expensive and people are expensive and we're all a lot older now. And so
different time.
Expectations are different. But also our level of ambition out of the gate is extraordinarily high.
Yeah.
At that time, it was a nascent industry and we were just trying to get our bearings. And now we were entering a mature market. You just need to be capitalized properly to do that.
Jim, we are so honored to even have a moment of your time because you're
Oh, it's my
a
pleasure.
very busy guy. Thank you so much for coming on. I learned a ton. I could talk to you for another couple hours, but we know we don't have the time.
It's too cold to do that. I'll have to change your menu a little bit, or I'll have to put my hat on.
Yeah. I'm going to say something sappy. No, I'm pinching myself that when I met you 13 years ago, that we're still in contact and that we're in such a beautiful place. And now you've hired my company because you're talking about the Michael Deering story, which hit hard because working for you is a monumental reason why I'm an entrepreneur now. So it's an honor.
Wow. Thanks, Bear. That really means a lot. Thanks for creating this forum so we could have this discussion. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to the Eventful Podcast. If you loved this episode, follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and catch us on Instagram at the handle @theeventfulpod. See you next week.